I'm
Good
good.
to
How are
see
you?
Good. How was your weekend? Did you guys win the championship? On Saturday?
Oh, no.
No.
No, we lost our second game. We were up 9-4 at halftime.
Yep.
And that team, the second half held us to 3 points and they ended up winning. So,
Eighth grade basketball.
and then they blew
Or
out
eighth
until you approve it, so we'll approve it in consent agenda. So when we do, then he will.
Okay. I was like, I know I read and knew like.
He will.
Sorry. I've had some.
Yes, that is the
All the
committee. Well, if
days.
you're not on the committee, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice to meet you.
I
Have a
just
great time.
Oh, hi,
Yeah.
very nice to meet you.
happened to actually bring all those up. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be on it. Okay, great.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Oh.
You're not here for that?
It's from where?
What?
You're not here for that?
For what? This is for STEAM.
Oh.
This is what the kids made me for STEAM Expo.
Oh, that's
Hi.
adorable.
How are you?
I've got to get my brain in this mode.
There's Haysville High. Did I?
Jeff, how are you?
Well, hi, Courtney.
Isn't that cute?
It is adorable.
It is.
Hi, Jen.
That's really
nice.
cute.
Hello, friend.
It helps if I turn the mouse on, doesn't it?
Forgot my mouse.
Oh. Happy Monday, everybody. Party hard, hard, hard.
That's so kind. Carter wrote me the nicest thing to come with. Hey. Got an agenda this month.
Yeah, good job.
You weren't here to steal it or whatever happened last time.
Like I said,
Just forgot about you. Or they forgot about me. and
They
I
just forgot about me. Oh,
Yes.
yes, I said it. Did you look at my link? He hasn't seen it.
I was like, that's Jen.
I know. I laughed. I immediately texted him. I was like, oh no. What's chair? Why do I have your chair?
Do you have my chair?
Fine.
I have Tom's chair and it's gone.
Wait, no, this is my chair.
But this is gonna be your chair now. This is Jeremy's chair. This is not my chair. You know why I know? Look how far back it's in the back. It's like he's laying on the ground.
Right.
Mine sits straight.
You don't like the lean?
Oh, that is correct.
She likes.
See, look at that.
Right, yeah.
Okay, 7 o'clock, Jeremy.
Okay.
Give it the toot.
I would like to call the meeting to order. And are you live?
No, no.
This is my first time running a meeting. I'm the new vice president and Tom's out tonight, so I'm running the meeting. And I would like to welcome campus to do the flag salute and sing the national anthem. Parents, feel free to come up and take pictures.
Parents, come on up.
Parents, if you want to
As
take
close as
pictures,
you want to get. You guys know.
whatever you want to
You're
do,
ready.
come on up. You're welcome.
Just moving way over here.
Yes, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say
We are a portion of Campus Singers. These are some of the women from Campus Singers. I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Flynn. I'm a junior.
And my name is Audrey Tice. I'm also a junior.
I'm Miss Riffy. I am not a junior. I am their director.
I'm Brianna and I'm a senior.
I'm Ashton Terrio and I'm a senior.
I'm Jessie Walston and I'm a junior.
Thank you.
The other way.
From someone who can't sing at all.
I know. I can't even lip sync.
That was great.
It's amazing.
Did really well. Next is the vice president's announcements. I don't have anything. So after that will be the superintendent's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. At this time, I'd like to have Ms. Macias share our 2-6 Wonderful Award recipients this evening.
Thank you. We have several recipients today. If I could first call up Shirley McCutcheon. Dr. Carricker is going to present her award. I tried to recruit Mr. Miller and Mrs. Luna, but oh,
Carolyn's here.
Carolyn's here. You better come up here too. But they are at parent-teacher conferences, so they could not make it. So I'm just going to share a little bit of what they had to say. So Shirley McCutcheon is a dedicated community member and a parent who has gone above and beyond to help make USD 2-6 wonderful. As a parent of a child with significant disabilities, she saw that categorical special education teachers often needed extra supplies in their classroom. About 10 years ago, she enlisted the help of her friend and retired USD 261 staff member Carolyn Brown and began a community art fair. In 2015, See Beyond the Label was officially incorporated as a nonprofit. Student-created art, community art, raffle baskets from donations gathered from around South Central Kansas were sold to raise funds at the annual art fair. Shirley's efforts were recognized by the community, and she was featured on KSN News also. Over the course of the pre-COVID years, over $5,000 was raised and donated. This past week, the final donations were given, $500 to Super Colts and $400 to Project Life. Thank you for making USD 261 wonderful. I can get that out to both of you. Will. Next up, we're going to have Miss Reed present an award to Christy Long. If you will please come up.
It is my pleasure to present Christy Long, the Learning Services Secretary for the USD 2-6 Wonderful Award. Christy wears various hats in her current position. She's a team player who is always willing to lend a hand to help any department that is in need while juggling her responsibilities in learning services. Christy has been instrumental in her assistance and organization with Stuff the Bus. She assisted with the hospitality portion of the community retreat, and she helps organize the day for new teacher training each year. She also arranges for curriculum purchases, delivery, and sustainability. She assists with the virtual school enrollment, answers questions from parents, and tries to keep up with the crazy schedules of our learning services team. Most recently, she has covered the front desk at the administration building during this time of transition. As the first interaction that our staff and community have when they contact with the administration building, Christy provides a cheerful, positive, welcoming demeanor that instantly makes people feel comfortable. Christy readily volunteers to help in any way she can, no matter what is on her plate. She is the very definition of unwavering support and commitment to the district, and I'm so proud to know her and to get to work with her on a daily basis. Thank you, Christy, for everything you do every day. You truly exemplify what it means to be a USD 2-6 wonderful person.
We have several retirees this month. So first, I would like to recognize Lisa Strong, if you would like to come up.
Ms. Strom has been in education for 31 years. In her 31 years of education, she has dedicated her efforts to seeing her students grow, and her impact has been significant on the lives of many students. Mr. Craig stated that he has had the privilege of knowing Ms. Strom for a long time, and his educational career has allowed him the opportunity to be part of her daughter's lives. Ms. Strom will be missed dearly by the staff and students at Prairie Elementary and our district. We are excited for the time she is going to gain with her grandbabies, but we are sad for the time our students will miss you. If I could have Mr. Craig come up to take a picture. Congratulations. Next up from Haysville Middle School, we have Jan Ward. Ms. Ward started her teaching career in 1992 at Mulvane Public School, where she has spent 20 years teaching 3rd through 5th grade and special education. Mrs. Ward impacted many other students on the volleyball court and as the 7th grade volleyball coach. Outside of the classroom, Mrs. Ward has shared her love of education and her passion in many ways. She also provided professional development training to staff, serving as the instructional technology specialist for the district. This included providing training to district personnel on data analysis and desegregation of NWEA data, which she presented to superintendents, board members, and many other educators across the South Central area. Mrs. Ward is finishing her 10th year of teaching 7th grade math at Haysville Middle School. While at Haysville Middle School, she has been involved in coaching volleyball. She has served as the Capturing Kids' Hearts process champion and is a member of the PBIS committee. She has also represented HMS on the district PDC team. Mrs. Ward will be greatly missed. Next up is Connie Schaaf from Campus High School. Ms. Schaaf came to us as a longtime experienced teacher who has taught a multitude of different science courses. She is a survivor in 2 ways. First, she taught for many years in Greensburg and survived the massive tornado years ago. Second, she has over 30 years of experience and has survived the changes and the ups and downs of the curriculum department in Kansas. With that, she has been consistent in her teaching practices and her passion for student learning. Her science and technology class is unique, and she has brought excellent experiences for students who may not be strong in traditional science. She is a veteran teacher who has impacted many students to move forward in the science area. She will be greatly missed, and we wish her well in her retirement. Congratulations. If I could have Kim Newby come up. Mrs. Newby is a tireless worker who has elevated our speech and debate programs to new heights. Her work at Campus Debate Tournament has made it to the premier debate tournaments in the state of Kansas. In her tenure at campus, we have had regional and national placers in debate. Her love of kids and her passion for teaching spans across decades, as she began her teaching career in 1978. She works very hard to turn students into student leaders, as evidenced by her successes with tournaments. Mrs. Newby has set the foundation for a great program at Campus High School, and the results of her efforts and hard work will carry on through the program. Mr. Morford wrote, "In my career, I do not think I have seen a sponsor or coach put in the amount of time, sweat, money, or effort into a program's success that they lead as Mrs. Newby. She will be greatly missed." Next up, we have Susan Calloway Klaus. From day one, Ms. Calloway Klaus has been a leader in the science department at CHS. Coming to us after a successful career at Clearwater, she immediately had an impact on our chemistry team and science overall. She is a no-nonsense leader who understands the importance of education and student accountability. She is innovative and looks out for other teachers in her department. When we tragically lost a department chair a few years ago, Ms. Callaway Klaus stepped up to lead and made sure the purchase orders and equipment were taken care of. She didn't have to do that. She just did it to help. Her strength and experience as a teacher will be hard to replace. We wish her well in her retirement. And our last nominee this evening is Mr. Mark Foster. Mr. Foster is our principal at Haysville Middle School. While in Haysville, USD 261, Mr. Foster has spent time at Campus High School, Haysville High School, and Haysville Middle School. In each of these buildings, he has served different roles, yet he has had the same amazing impact in each building and with every student. While at HMS, Mr. Foster has been dedicated to boosting the culture and holding staff and students accountable to the social contracts created throughout the school. He is an exemplar role model and treats adults and students alike with fairness and respect. His assistant principals are abundantly appreciative for his guidance and mentorship. To work with Mr. Foster is to work with one of the best. He gets kids and he does everything he can day after day to help students have a successful school experience. Losing Mr. Foster will be a loss for all students and staff. However, we do wish him the best in his new adventure following retirement. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch.
Thank you, Ms. Macias. Next, I'll share a couple of upcoming events with you. Campus is having their signing day on the 15th from 2 to 3. So when high school athletes and those who are going to further their education and through extracurricular activities will be signing with their colleges. Want to let you know Cody Kirkendall. I know we've talked about Cody as our Horizon Award winner from Campus High School. This Friday, Mr. Morford and I will be going to a luncheon in Topeka for Cody, in which he will receive his award. So we're excited about that. Want to congratulate Chris Davis, who's Campus High School basketball coach. This last Friday, he earned his 100th win as a Campus High School basketball coach. That's great news for Coach Davis. Mr. Morford shared with us that we got some great news from KSHA, Kansas State High School Activities Association, regarding all activity and sports teams. And they earned academic achievements during the first semester. Campus High had 11 teams with grade point averages over a 3.25. 11 teams, that's really impressive. They earned a distinguished certificate, and we had 2 teams with between a 3 and a 3.24 to earn outstanding certificates. So a total of 482 students are included in this, which is about a fourth of our student body. So this speaks very, very positively of the extracurricular activities at campus, the commitment our coaches and staff have to student athletes first. And we want to congratulate all of our Colts for the great work that they had during first semester. So, Mr. Morford, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that or not, but.
The only 2 teams that we had missed out on the awards were a 2.91 and a 2.94 respectively. They were just under the cusp.
So great accomplishments by our high school athletes. Want to remind you that our meeting in March is early this month or next month. It'll be March 6th. So because of the way spring break falls, it'll be early that next month. So it'll be a quick turnaround on that. I will remind you of that. And then tonight, under your consent agenda, you are going to be asked to approve the hiring of our new assistant superintendent for business and finance, Mr. Craig Ryan. Mr. Ryan is here. Mr. Ryan, if you want to come up, please. Craig was one of 3 applicants who applied for the position, or 4, excuse me, who applied for the position. We had a committee put together. Mr. Finster sat on that committee as a board representative. We had principals, we had a director, district office staff interviewed, and he was the consensus choice of the group. And we want to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Craig to our team. And Craig, I don't know if Mr. Ryan, I don't know if there's anything you want to share.
Just, I appreciate it. The opportunity to work on a great team like this, just walking around the room even before we got started here tonight. You can feel the connectedness of this group, and it's what I'm looking forward to. So working with a good team, working in a good community, and seeing how we can bring that all together. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Ryan. Appreciate that very much. Mr. Fenster, I don't know if you want to talk about the process or anything as a part of that.
Back up the signing day, will it be in the cafeteria, will it be in the gym, or where will it
It's
be?
typically the gym, isn't it? Yeah, in the gymnasium.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, typically.
Well, that was a week ago.
Yeah, don't want to put you on the spot, but in case there's anything you want to talk about the process.
Well, he did say that I was the favorite board member in the room. He did say that.
Yeah, in the room.
No, it was a long day, but I mean, 4 good candidates, tough questions, the basic, but there was also some that made them think, make them talk about their past and how they would do things in the future. So I wasn't the only one there. Steve was there. Yeah, Jennifer was there, but have I missed anything? Like I said, oh, well, yeah, can't think of her name right now, but anyway. Oh, there it is.
Jillian
Got a lot of work, a lot of changes. And, as you know, finance, money, what keeps us going. So we're approving several $100,000 here in a few minutes. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, Jim.
Next, section 1.5, Campus High School Student Council Report. I think Maddie's finally back. Welcome back.
Thanks. Okay. So each year we hold the Gym 5K, which is the Gary Ingalls Memorial Run, which if you guys don't know, he was a teacher at Campus High School and a beloved coach and teacher that sadly passed away from cancer many years ago. But we have picked our beneficiary, which we have decided to go with Mr. Pena, or Ryan Painter's family, which he was a teacher at Campus High School last year who died rather quickly of cancer. And even though most of the times we do this with families who are struggling at the moment, we decided to kind of change it a little differently to help his family right now with the financial needs, especially with them having a freshman and then also a little girl. It's kind of hard for the family right now. So we decided to go with them, and that I believe would be held on April 22nd. I wouldn't quote me on that, but I'll let you know for sure next time. Also, this week is Staff Appreciation Week at campus, and each day we do something different. So today we had we put like treats in like the mailbox instead to stay late. So we put like candy or like granola bars and like a drink. And then tomorrow they're doing like a tiny gift. And then Wednesday we're doing a video because last year we did a video for them saying thank you to all the staff there, and it was really, I guess, successful. So we did another one, and we're gonna send that out on Wednesday. And also we have the polar plunge coming up, which is actually this weekend, I believe, February 18th. And we have, I think, about 4 or 5 of us not competing, participating in it again. And that's at noon if you guys want to come, but you don't have to because it's embarrassing. So yeah, that's it. Yeah. Any questions?
Maddie, I would just throw one thing out. You were one of our homecoming royalty this year, I saw.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, Maddie.
I might have just made it more awkward. She was like,
1.6 new and good. Does anybody have anything for new and good? Jeff?
Well, I did have some good news last week. Became a grandpa for the first time, and daughter and granddaughter and son-in-law are all doing well. And I will tell you, it's a whole different level. One that I have absolutely loved. I was telling with our team this morning, I was holding her and she needed to be changed. So I handed her to my daughter and said, there you go, bring her back when she's done. And she did. So it was fun. It's great being a grandparent. Nothing better. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Any other new and good? Okay. 1.7, approve or amend the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the amended change of removing executive session tonight, unless anybody wants to have an executive session. I don't think it's necessary at this point.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the exclusion of 9.0 executive session.
Yes.
Question, to approve, Mr. Ryan, I may have skimmed over it. Is it, where is it at?
It'll be in the consent item
Okay.
under routine personnel.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? Yes, all in favor? Sorry. Opposed? Oh, I voted for.
You also have to
Yeah.
vote.
It was a fun new experience.
You're doing great.
Next 2.0 district patron or personnel. We don't have any, and then any remarks or comments from visitors in the audience? Okay. What did you have to?
Just ask her, state her name and her address. and
Okay.
then she'll have 2 minutes once Debbie gets that.
Okay. Yeah, just state your name and address for Debbie, and then you have 2 minutes.
And to all of us, we know who's talking.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my name is Kimberly Murrow. And do I give my address or just to her? Okay. Okay, so I'm a parent of a student at Oakville, and I just wanted to take a few seconds to kind of ask the question of why we're having a Board of Education meeting on the night of parent-teacher conferences. And my next question would be, why do we have parent-teacher conferences on Valentine's Day when our staff and our teachers should be at home with their loved ones on Valentine's Day? So I do have some concerns there on maybe when we're planning board meetings or when we're planning parent-teacher conferences. I did do some research today, and nowhere locally is doing parent-teacher conferences this week. They're all the 22nd or later on, not on February 14th. So those were the 2 things I had on questions on scheduling. Thank you.
Thank you. On to 3.0, the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
If I may, before you do that, Mr. Bennett, I would point out that 3.4 will be a new process that we have in place. Anytime the district sells or places something up for sale, you will see it listed now under consent agenda. So as part of this, Mr. Herbert has listed some technology that he was wishing to place on Purple Wave. And then, as you know, we sell buses once they hit the age out, if you will. We have a bus that's aging out. So BJ has provided you with that information as well. And that's, you will start to see that change as we sell stuff. So I just wanted you to be aware of why. And that way there is a, obviously a vote on that to move forward. So.
And if I could, on 3.3 gifts and grants, to thank those folks who give so selflessly to the district, and in particular, the folks who give to the Angel Fund for the kids who need extra lunch money. And with that, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a motion by Dr. Norton, a second by Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Yeah. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And on to the treasurer's report.
And again, Steve, thank you for signing and dating. I really appreciate that. And I'll move to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
1 second.
Motion by Dr. Norton, and a second by Ms. Bain to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Reports, section 5.0.
Linda Long
Linda
and
Long?
her team will be doing this one for me. Well, Linda's setting up on this. I would point out to the board that you will start seeing on our agenda each month, each item that aligns with our strategic plan, the goal specifically that and how it aligns. So just want to point that out now that we've adjusted our strategic plan and approved that.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much for having us here today. I get the really easy job tonight, and my role is just to thank you all for your support of the school-based health clinic and the wonderful resource it's been for our community. And now I'm going to introduce our team that actually makes it all happen in our clinic, because they're going to present the report to you tonight. They're very excited to be here. So we have with us tonight Dr. Carrie Harris, Dr. Elizabeth Lewis, Krista Weaver, who's our nurse practitioner, and Dr. Nicole Klaus, who is our psychologist in charge of all of our psychology services. So with that, come on up, girls.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Harris. As Linda said, thank you for having us back. We are excited to present this because we really like this work, and we thank you guys for supporting us. So just a quick overview. Get to the right page here. So our clinic opened October 1st, 2021. We had one APRN, Krista, and we had one MA. Both live here locally, so that was kind of cool as well. Last fall in August, we were able to expand with the addition of Dr. Elizabeth Lewis, who is a family medicine and sports med physician with a special interest in adolescent health and mental health care. And then we also added another APRN that works one day a week down here, Amber Good, so that Krista could move into more of a managerial role for that time, because we were expanding enough that we needed that. So that was exciting. We also developed an interprofessional child-centered integrated care program, which is a lot of words. We call it IC times 2 or ICX2, and added Dr. Nicole Klaus, who's a child psychologist, as well as 2 of her trainees, another psychologist who is doing his fellowship in child psychology and psychology intern as well. And then as part of the IC times 2 model, we are able to have Dr. Cassie Carlson, who's a child and adolescent psychiatrist, help us with the patients as they come through with mental health concerns. So Dr. Lewis is kind of good to go through that, so I don't want to steal her thunder here. And Dr. Klaus also brought to Haysville the Breathe program, which is an after-school ADHD program, and she's going to talk about that, as well as her colleague, Dr. Zachary Blackhurst, who is also a child psychologist. This was all super relevant because, as you guys know, the only other primary care clinic in town closed in September, and we were able to help offset some of that loss by taking some of those patients in our clinic. So I'm going to turn it over to Krista, and she's going to talk to you about where we're at now. You want me to draw? Or do you want me to draw?
Good evening. Just to talk a little bit about what we're seeing. We have seen 950 unique, excuse me, unique patients for a total of 1,775 visits. As you can see, the fun little Jeep picture, we did participate in the parade, and I learned a strong lesson that I need to buy more candy. We ran out and everybody looks at you, and yeah, we were scrounging, but it was really fun being a part of this community. I've been here since '98, seeing a lot of people that I know, a lot of teachers that I know. Mr. Foster, super awesome to see him. He was my Spanish teacher many years ago. We won't talk about how many. So a lot of fun to see our patients and just community members that I'm familiar with. So, and here's kind of a graph of our patient numbers starting in January going through December. You can see we had a big spike in October. That was lots of vaccinations. Exclusion day is
big deal here. So we saw a lot of that, and I hear there's another one coming up. So we'll prepare for that. So we've been pretty consistent, sitting 75, 80 visits currently. So next one, I'll tell you a little bit about what type of visits we're seeing. You guys can see the big one, and I'm just going to make that kind of the main topic. Mental health is a huge number of our visits. We see lots of anxiety, depression, trauma, PTSD. We're seeing a lot of that, and that's where the IC ×2 model comes in great. We have collaborative meetings with that group where we can discuss patients and make sure that we're giving them everything we can for care. But in addition to that, we see all the normal aches, pains, ear infections, of course, some behavioral concerns, ADHD. We see quite a bit of that as well. We're doing some allergy shots, lots of TB skin tests for the new staff members. Those are my favorite. I like the instant gratification there. Immunizations, of course, upper respiratory infections, all of that. So, but that mental health number is huge. And I think it's amazing that we're able to provide that care to the kids in our community. So with that, I'll let Dr. Lewis talk more about that.
Awesome. Hello. Thanks for letting us be here and tell you guys about this. The next slide. So this is the IC ×2, interprofessional child-centered integrated care. What this really means is, so we're here like in person, this whole crew, some of us different days. So we see the patients coming in with the mental health concerns, the behavioral concerns. And then what this IC ×2 is, every 2 weeks, we all get together, and then we have that child and adolescent psychiatrist that also comes on our group. Dr. Harris is on there as well. And we have the list of all these complex cases, of these different kids, and we go through as a team. And it's awesome when Dr. Klaus, who's our psychologist, is able to have seen some of those kids for therapy, and we're seeing them for medication management. And there's a lot of complex mental health cases. And so having that child psychiatrist to say like, hey, what medication tweaks can we do to best support this kid, have best outcomes overall, is awesome. And it's awesome that it's every 2 weeks, because if we were to refer them to a child psychiatrist, it would take like 6 months to get in, and they would have to drive all the way to Wichita. So the fact that they get to come here somewhere that they're used to, and we have those services, man, sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll just have one of my, people who want mental health care come to Haysville, and then we can talk about them in 2 weeks, and you'll get into a psychiatrist sooner. So that is an awesome piece of all, that's kind of what all that says. Oh, and that was fun. Visits. This is since we had those IC ×2 meetings, kind of see it pictorially on there. Again, kind of goes with Chris, it leveled out, but mental health is like by far the number one thing that we see. Usually it's behavioral concerns as the chief complaint coming in, and then you kind of unpack that and go from there. And then Dr. Klaus comes in.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. So my team has about 7 hours a week dedicated to providing evaluations and therapy for students and patients in our school-based health clinic, plus another hour a week devoted to the coordination of care through this IC2 model. And so you can see from the graphs that our clinic filled up fast and has remained busy over the last several months since we started. We see a variety of presenting concerns in our clinic, but the most common concerns are anxiety and depression, and most of our patients have more than one diagnosis. I am also one of the directors for the Breathe After School treatment program for kids with symptoms of ADHD and their families. And so through this program, we supervise a team of counselors who implement an intensive behavioral intervention and social skills training program in a recreational context that looks a lot like soccer practice. But there's more going on there, I promise. And it also includes an hour a week of family meetings for parents to come and learn the behavioral interventions that we're using with their kids. And so we are in the middle of our winter session right now, but some preliminary data from our fall session is illustrated by these quotes from parents indicating that they are seeing the impacts of this program in their home and for their children at school as well. So this is all possible through the generosity of our funders, which Dr. Harris will talk about.
Yes, so now we're going to talk about financials because I think maybe it's relevant. So the blue line is payments to date. We theoretically would like that blue line to be higher than the green line, which is total expenses. If you remember, there was that peak with immunizations. Those immunizations cost money. The money that comes in lags behind a little bit. So that's something to consider when you're looking at this. And we can definitely get you more details. Our business person could not be here tonight, but he's happy to answer questions if you guys have specific questions about any of this. I think what I want to focus on more is that your guys' contract is right around $9,000 a month to make this clinic happen. And what we have been able to do with your guys' generosity and support for this clinic is leverage funding from other sources. So these are now the partners that we have for our school-based health clinic to make it meaningful for your guys' students and community members. So obviously 261 Credit Union of America has contributed to help with the mental health visits and part of that IC ×2 model that we talked about. KU Wichita Pediatrics and the Wichita Open have combined to donate funding also to focus on infrastructure of the clinic as well as mental health care. KDHE and federal funding from HRSA have allowed for some of that coordination time for the IC ×2 meeting. KDADS funds the Breathe program. Yes. Dr. Craig Barman is the PCP that closed his office here. He donated over like $2,000. I mean, well over supplies to us, which was a huge benefit for our clinic. Most recently, we were granted a community health worker grant through KDHE, which will help us to have resources provided to patients, education, and things like that. And then also very recently, we received federal funding to improve mental health education for our pediatric residency program, which will also provide mental health education for faculty, as well as Krista and anybody that works in the school-based health clinic that is interested in that. So all of this together is about $8,500 a month committed for the next 5 years. So we almost have doubled the contribution that Haysville has contributed to this clinic. So I was incredibly humbled when I did this math, just for the support that you guys have given us to build this and to help these kids. And then, to be able to leverage this additional funding, I think has been huge. So thank you to all of our amazing partners. I left Linda and Beth Schutte and Angela and April off at the beginning because I was just talking about KU employees, but certainly we couldn't do any of this without the support that you guys have donated with them. So more to come with what we're doing, hopefully.
Okay, any questions before we wrap up? Sure.
Where do you guys see us going from here? What do you think is the next piece of this puzzle? Because obviously
There's a big need.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we would love to be able to expand, but expansion takes money. So we're looking at all those things. We would love to have more space, to expand our services, to have more psychology time for sure. That would be a huge need that we would have. So space, more psychology time, all those types of expansions. That's where I see us going.
And we've been able to expand hours,
Yes.
just through some of the donations and stuff, so Dr. Lewis being here adds another, 3 half days of clinic or something. Krista started with only 5 half days of clinic. So we've been able to increase by adding Dr. Lewis and, yeah, I agree. That's what Elizabeth said. If we could clone Dr. Klaus.
Yes, we need more Dr. Klauses, many more of those. Originally, the big picture for this was to have it be a community-centered spot where the community could have a one-stop shop for these types of services, donations, electric and utility help, those kinds of things, just a one-stop center that's centered around the school district and all those people coming in. So if one day that was possible, Jennifer and I have had tons of talks about that, have we not? If one day that was possible, then I could die happy. There you go.
Linda, can I jump in? One thing, when we started writing the grant last year for the mental health intervention team grant, we did begin working with KU and looking at the cost of additional psychology time. And so that is something as we move forward that Linda and I have talked about as we write it for next year, if this is something that we want to consider to try to get some additional hours, since this will be our second year writing the grant.
Your question?
Long-winded question. What is your measuring stick or your quality? How do you understand that you're making a difference? I know that you got a few comments back from parents, and can see a difference in the children that you're talking to, but you go back to the school and talk to the counselor there? Do you go back, talk to the teacher? What are you doing you're going to have repeats, I know that, or do over 1,775 visits. I know that some of them were duplicates, but what do you do to measure to see you're doing an improvement on an individual basis? What's your survey? How do you find this out?
Well, one of the things that's really important to note is that we are affecting student attendance and also staff attendance. That's really helpful to have our resources right here because we have staff who'd have to leave and take a whole day off to go to the doctor, which we can serve them here. Students who have less attendance issues because we're able to do it more quickly here. So that's one measuring stick right there. We've had administrators comment, many of our administrators, most all of them comment on how helpful that is for their staff and for their students. That's one way. We've had lots and lots of testimonials from parents, some of those that you saw tonight, but we have many more of those. We just had actually a parent say to Krista, do you want to tell your story?
Sure, I can.
Because they said it directly to her and it sums it up.
And to touch a little bit on your question about talking with counselors, we do, if we can get permission from the parents and the patients, if they sign a release, we do talk with the counselors and work closely with them to make sure that the student is being successful in school. Same with ADHD. That's a big thing. We get a whole lot of feedback from teachers on how are we improving, and we kind of watch that. And I've heard a whole lot of good stories from those. And that's what Linda brings it to. We have a kiddo we treat and mom, they are going to move out of the district due to just some of their own circumstances. And she said that they considered staying here just because they love our clinic so much and how much we've helped her child. So that means a whole lot to us that are treating that child, to see that they've gone from really struggling and being able to focus in school to being able to truly enjoy their school and learn. So I hope that answers your question a little bit.
It does. I also have a follow-up question. Do you see an age? Are they from first grade to fifth grade, third and fourth graders? Do you see a trend in your data analysis? Or if you need to do interventions or anything like that, a certain age? Or are they all over the map?
Man, it depends on what we're talking about. We see, of course, more of the ADHD behavioral issues starting kindergarten and up, probably more to like fourth, fifth grade, maybe. And then the mental health kind of seems to be starting middle school to high school. So that kind of splits it up. A lot of times middle schoolers and high schoolers, if they have ADHD or some diagnosis like that, they got that
earlier. And we can follow that with them if they need a provider for that, but they're usually already diagnosed.
Last question, are you comfortable or confident, or do you think the staff at our schools, whether it be a counselor, teacher, principal, whatever, refer students to you? Do you see that happening?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
All
So
the
they're
time.
aware of the services.
Yes,
that are
all the
helping you,
time, all the time.
pushing you, shoving them their way. Okay.
Yes, they are. They're like, go see the clinic. I have tons of parents who say, oh yeah, the counselor at the school told us we need to come here. So, yeah.
One of the things, Greg, that I thought was really, the data was, to me, was very telling was when we went to Dr. Klaus. And she was sharing the data from the Breathe program that you had first semester, where she said they had 22 families who showed interest. Tell me if I'm making this up. Had 22 families, 17 actually signed up to do it, and all 17 finished the program. So they had 100% participation in graduation, if you will, from the program at semester, which tells me, because it was a commitment. It's not easy to be a part of that program. And the parents had to commit to time in the evenings and students. And that speaks volumes of the type of support that these programs are providing for our families. And I will tell you to go and to get the service that they're providing cost wise is the number I heard, I don't want to quote because I don't want to say I'm making it up, but it was in the thousands.
Yeah, probably a couple $1,000s a student.
Yes. To be able to do that. And so that service alone to help our kids. This program is, in my opinion, is cutting edge in regards to meeting needs of kids and their families in a community that is underserved. And the work these ladies are doing is phenomenal. And
There are
greatly
males involved too,
appreciated.
just. They just didn't come.
We have some guys.
From an evaluation standpoint, we do, part of that HRSA money is for evaluation of the IC times 2 model. So we have a research assistant that's helping us with that. It's too early to see. Some of the other, I think, measuring stick markers that you mentioned are things like school attendance, which has been really difficult in a post-COVID world because I don't think school attendance is what it used to be. It's not in my house, unfortunately. Everybody's sick all the time.
But we're improving it though.
Yes, but I think they're not having to leave. So some of that we'll see over time. It's just still too early and there's kind of an unknown variable there. But we do have dedicated evaluation support and time for some of this.
So I just wanted to take a moment, Linda, and thank you, KU Med, district admin, the board for allowing this program. We are super underserved, especially now. There is no healthcare in the way of doctors here in Haysville. And as we talk about chronic absenteeism and what causes that, getting students back to school quickly with either medication if they need it, a note as we talk about, unexcused absences, all of that stuff is important. And we have parents who just don't have the ability to go outside of Haysville. So being able to have that here has made such a difference in so many lives. And Linda, I know you and I hear about it all the time because we work on another board that talks about it a lot. And I'm not for sure everybody gets to hear some of those same things that we hear, but there is a great need here and we are fulfilling such a need, which is not necessarily the school's job to have to do. And so I just want to thank everybody involved in the program because it's super important to our residents here and to make our community better. So good job. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. And I'm sorry that we went miserably over the 7 minutes we were allotted. I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's good stuff.
Please keep me working here.
And I would remind the board, the district's part of this is coming from ESSER monies, which in my opinion is a great utilization of those funds to meet the needs of our families in a challenging time. So again, thank you all for what you're doing. We greatly appreciate our partnership.
Thank you for your support. We have Valentine's to get ready to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Hazel High School alternative scheduling, Mr. Winter.
Okay, that's right. Thanks, David. Thank you all for taking the time to hear me out tonight. So what we do at Haysville High School, what it looks like right now is we do personalized learning with a blended approach where students do a digital curriculum on a Acellus that is supplemented by direct instruction of offline work by the teachers in the classroom. We have a schedule that runs from 7:40 to 3:05, and that's kind of the constraint of what we do. We have some challenges that we have to face. We have independent students at my school, whether it's their choice or somebody else's choice, circumstantial, they're on their own, or they're the primary breadwinner in their home. And I can't ask a kid in good conscience to take hours off work and starve so that they can be in high school on our schedule. We also want to provide greater opportunities at WSU Tech. And right now we're limited in that if a kid needs a full schedule, they can't take those WSU Tech courses because that takes out of their school day. If we could change the schedule, maybe we could let more kids do that. And also we have students that have medical conditions that mess up their mornings. They can't get to school and have a full schedule because they're going to doctor's appointments or being sick. So I gave my students a survey, came up with 2 alternative schedules, one that started at 10:50 and went until 6:05 in the evening, and a second one that started at 9:20 and went until 4:35 in the evening. The students voted. We just had juniors and sophomores vote because seniors we don't care about because they're leaving us. So I don't care what schedule they want. 20 of the students responded, no, I'm not interested in changing my schedule. They're happy with the 7:40 to 3:05. They'll keep doing it. We had 20 that said, yes, I want the 9:20 to 4:45 schedule. And we had 4 that responded that they wanted the 10:50 to 6:05 schedule. We looked at staffing issues, and I will tell you, I am grateful to work in a district full of directors who see all of these obstacles as opportunities to overcome these things if it's what's best for kids. So with staffing, I took it to my staff. I said, would anybody be interested in working a different schedule next year? It's not adding any time. It's not really changing anything as far as their negotiated agreement. It's just you'll come in later and you'll stay later. And I had 2 staff members volunteer and say, yeah, I want to do that. I had another staff member say, you know, I'm not ready to commit to that, but I will commit to be a sub if one of them can't be here. So that made me feel good because we've got extra coverage. Transportation, man, they were great. They said, hey, you know what? We've got activity buses. We've got shuttles. We can find a way to get those kids where they need to be on an alternate schedule. Health. Beth Schutte, I talked to her. She said we can have flex one of our aid schedules, one of our CNA schedules, or we can have an RN on call during that time. And with food, all that really took, since we were going with the 9:20 schedule, was can we have a grab and go breakfast when those kids come in? And we were told, yeah, that's not going to be a problem at all. We'll have it ready to go when they come in. They can grab it, eat it in class. And then for security, we can have a security guard from campus come down, or BJ had talked about maybe using this as a springboard to hire a 3rd security officer for the district, have them on a little different schedule where they can work that later shift to cover the building during that time. So the solution is, you know, this is the first reading. So in March, I'll come back and I'll ask you to approve implementation of an alternate day schedule for 2 teachers and approximately 30 students for next school year at Haysville High School. We're going to have an application process. Seniors will get first dibs on those spots, and they'll have to show need for the first spots that we give away. If we don't have 30 that can show need, then we'll go to the kids that just want it. They just want to sleep in and stay up a little later. What questions or concerns do you have?
I was just going to say, I think it's a great idea. I mean, studies show teenagers take longer to wake up and work better later in the day than they do earlier in the morning. So, and if any school understands that, I'm sure it's Haysville High School. So
we see it.
And I would say I spent my career working with non-traditional students, and this is like so great for you to do this, because every kid is not built in that same little box. So if this is going to meet the need of a kid who circumstances have put them into a different situation, good for you. So I'm totally behind this, especially if you've got teachers who said, yeah, we'd love to do it. That's even better.
I do just have one question. As you talked about showing need for seniors, will you then skip to juniors showing need before you go back and say, these are the kids that just want it?
Yes.
Okay, I just missed that part. I heard you say
You
for
demonstrate
seniors, but
need,
I didn't hear
go
you.
to the top of the list.
Okay, so you'd move then down to juniors, and then if those spots aren't filled, then it's seniors who wants to sleep in.
Seniors who have the want.
Like Susan and Jeremy have said, I'm super behind this. We've talked, this has been floated before. It's such a great idea, I think, for some of our students that need it. So I'm happy that we're able to accommodate our students to make them have a better experience at school and be able to be there.
Maybe I missed it. Is this, some students will be on the original schedule and some on the second, or the whole school
majority of our
shifting?
students, let's say we have 130 total students in our building,
Mhm.
100 of them will stay on the 740 to 305 schedule.
Got it.
And then we'll have, is there
Small
room for
portion.
expansion? Eventually, yes. Could we flip the schedule the opposite way? If the need is great enough, then why wouldn't we have 100 kids come in from 9:20 to 4:35 and then just have 30 that do the early schedule?
How would that work
Look at
with
lots of
staff?
different ways.
Well, staffing would.
That would be something the staff would have to approve.
Okay.
According to the negotiated agreement.
Sure.
For us to move the whole schedule that way.
Okay.
But it's certainly an option later on if there's a need to bring it up and have the discussions at least.
Want to tell Jeremy and his team, thank you for looking at the needs of an alternate way of meeting the needs of the students. He shared with me, he had a student who was working till 1 or 2 in the morning every night and needed to get up to help and support family at home, and was still coming to school every morning at 7:30 and wiped out, obviously.
Oh, it was worse than that, Mr. Hirsch. He would work until 2 in the morning, closing the store. And then he would be back at the store at 5 a.m. to open it and come straight from opening to school. And we're asking that kid to stay awake.
So when you look at it from the perspective of meeting needs of kids in a non-traditional setting, this is going to be critical to the success of some of our kids. And hopefully we can get more to walk across that stage and realize that we want to work with them so that they are successful. And I want to just thank Jeremy for thinking differently and approaching this in a way that's very student-centered and meeting the needs of kids. So good work, Jeremy.
I do have one
Absolutely.
more
Thank you.
question.
Yes.
Yes, it's a great idea. My concern, I feel like there would be campus students that would benefit from this as well. I myself worked till 1 in the morning, went to school, did practice, went to work, did school, did practice. Is it something we've thought about that campus may say, hey, that could work too, or how, because I could see that happening.
Absolutely. I think, again, the great thing about this is just the approach is different. And I think you may see some kids from maybe campus that want to go over to Haysville High School because they have the
Because of it.
opportunity to go later. A situation like you just explained, if you can do that and still participate in activities and do the things that you want to do, why not? I mean, if it's good for kids and we want to do it, shouldn't stop us. So I think it's going to spawn some different thinking, which is what we want. And it may lead to something like this being implemented at campus high school down the line.
Okay.
So I think again, I get very excited about this because it is such a great opportunity for kids that are on the edge, and we need to get them across the finish line. So great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. 6.0 action items, right?
Hi.
It's up to the board. If the board wants to do that, you most can pull them, or you can do individually. It's your whatever.
So action items tonight. I do have a motion at 6.5 to approve all action items as presented. So we have had a first reading, and if everyone is okay with it, just approve all action items tonight. Or we can go through each individual one and discuss it.
Or you could pull approve certain ones and
Or, yeah.
pull individual ones you want to talk about. It's really up to you all.
Yes. So either I entertain a motion to approve 6.0 as presented, or we can discuss.
There wasn't anything I felt I needed to have further discussion on after the first reading, being able to answer questions. So that's where I sit.
I just had a question on 6.3, which is just an easy question. I don't know if you want to pull it or just let me ask my question. It is up to you. How do you want to handle it? Can I? Can I just ask my question? And this is probably just a small thing, the number on, sorry, let me get to my paper. The changes on in-state allowance for food. My question is, you put it at 50 and the state number is $59. I was just curious why 50 and why not the state allotment?
Well, as well as we looked at it, to be very honest, we're also low on the out-of-state spends as well. I think we give it a shot, and if we can't do it, we can always raise it, come back to the board and say we need more. I think I would rather start at a lower rate and just see how it works. And if our staff tells us we can't do it, you can't go out. And so I tend to think the 60 for out-of-state travel is going to be more of a struggle than the in-state at 50. But I think since it is a significant change, it's jumping by $20 each, in eliminating you get X number for breakfast, X number for lunch, and allows them to do as they wish. I think it's going to be a little more user-friendly. And we'll ask staff for feedback as they utilize it. I do want to bring up one point that Steve asked, and I want to make sure that we're clear on this. This is not a per diem where we give them $50 or $60 and they pocket what they don't spend. The board will reimburse up to 50 or up to 60. So Steve brought that question up in our meeting, and I want to make sure we point that out, that that's not the intent of this at all. It's, you can spend up to $50. If you spend 30, we're not paying you 20.
So it's more guideline as opposed to
Yes.
per diem. Okay,
Yes.
that answers my question. Thanks.
Question for Jennifer.
Yes.
On the absentee policy, a lot of rules and so on and so forth. I assume it's for across the school district, but I assume you have a vehicle in place, Excel spreadsheet or whatever that as you're calculating or counting these absences, that it'll send an email to you or to the parent, or how are you going to keep track of all these without a lot of labor? And
There's reports that we can run that our secretaries and our principals run on, well, right now it's a monthly basis to keep track of absences. But also when a student calls in, or a parent, I'm sorry, students don't call in, when a parent calls in to say that their child is absent, they pull them up in Power School and right there it'll tell them.
Okay, so
How
you
many
have the
absences
vehicle.
they have? Yeah, so it's not a whole lot of work that they'll have to do to see that, like especially for the 10 absences, they can pull that up and see right away how many absences.
So Power School will flag it for you if student has met the threshold. Okay, was curious as how you're going to see the data, utilize the data. Okay, so it's there, but this is just the words that go with what's already in Power School. Okay.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with that. As we talk about Power School, we still need to talk about the education piece to our parents, as well as potential videos, that we could put on our YouTube channel, maybe to show how Power School could be used. I did not know you could look up absences until 2 months ago. And I'm an avid user of Power School. So if I don't know it, I would think that there's probably more than just me. Maybe it's just me. But I think that providing some user-friendly education to our parents on tools that we give them to use is important step
First
that we
step
should
was to get
probably
the
do.
Policy solidified, and then our second step was.
Agreed. Just since it came up, I wanted to bring
come
up that
with a
piece.
Rollout plan and a communication plan for parents, absolutely. And then as well as meeting to determine how do we get kids wanting to come back.
So again, Power School will say that have up to 10 absences and they've already got 7 and 30 days to go. So you'll have warning and.
Yes.
Okay, so it will work. Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussions?
Are you entertaining the motion?
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to approve 6.0 as presented.
I will make the motion to approve 6.0 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Dr. Norton and a second by Ms. Williams. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Jeremy, can you please provide feedback to Tom and Jeremy about if you're comfortable with this process? If you're not, that's fine. We're just trying to do it in a way that will be as efficient as we can. So if you're not comfortable approving all items in the way we just did, please let Tom or Jeremy know. And that way we can bring it back in a different way. Want to just make it as efficient as we can.
And now first readings. 7.1 is curriculum adoption, ELA and math.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to give you a real quick background because we changed the adoption process for this round. And I think the teachers and the staff really benefited from it. So in previous years, when we would do a curriculum adoption, we'd get a team together where we'd have one representative from a grade level and one representative from each building. So it could possibly be like 6 teachers out of all the elementary teachers in the district. We'd meet, we'd vet the resources that came in. Then we'd meet, we'd take those 3, the vendors would come in and present. We would pass the resources around. They'd get about 5 days in each building. And then they would get feedback and we'd vote on our top and then we would implement. That's the past. We have been working on this curriculum adoption for 1.5 years. So we first started by taking about 4 times that as far as teachers go. We had teachers, we had ESOL, special education represented, our building principals, our learning facilitators. We met, we looked at the standards and we looked at our current curriculum and we decided to develop a rubric as to what we needed or what we felt our students needed in the district. We came together with, I believe, 5 different points on that rubric, and that's what we used to vet resources. So instead of just looking at the resources, we actually had a rubric to measure against what we were wanting. Then we narrowed down the resources, we heard from the vendors, and we selected 3 resources from ELA, which is reading, or math. And we had teachers field test or pilot those resources this fall. So they actually, the vendors gave us resources. We had at least 4 to 5 teachers in each building piloting different resources, and then they would meet and they would collaborate and they would work with the vendors to actually see what it was like in the classrooms with our students before making that selection. So they've had a full semester with these resources in place. And then we came together, the secondary math came together the very last day before Christmas break. And then ELA, which is K-12, came together when we came back and they determined what we wanted. So I just wanted to kind of give you that process because it's been quite the process and we've had a lot of people involved, but the buy-in is there and we're excited to move forward. For the ELA adoption, again, it's K-12. And the teachers and principals decided on, for K2, we would be using Curriculum Associates, which is actually what we use for elementary math right now. So they're familiar with it. It's called magnetic reading. We would also be purchasing, in addition to the tier 1 components that all kids would get, we would be purchasing what's called Amira. And Amira, remember last year when we purchased MyPath for math, everybody was talking about MyPath and how that was needed. Amira is the MyPath for reading. Fluency, sorry, stop. I'm looking at Shanae because she was in charge of the ELA. So we will be focusing on that, but we're purchasing that K-5. So even though 3 through 5 didn't adopt that, we are purchasing Amira 4 through 5 to help with fluency because our fluency scores have been stagnant and we think that that can help. And the teachers that we did see pilot Amira have the highest fluency scores in our district right now. So we've seen the data. Then for 3rd grade through 12th grade, they chose the same vendor. So we'll be doing Houghton Mifflin Harcourt or HMH, and that would be into reading, into lit, and we will also purchase Waggle, which is the Amira, which is fluency. Waggle is the comprehension piece, and we would be purchasing that 3-12. So that would be our ELA adoption. Yes, Greg.
You state on here that this will be good for 6 years.
Correct.
How do you guess, or how do you know that it'll be good for 6 years?
That's what we're purchasing.
Well, you're purchasing something each for 6 years. To me, this is like a warranty on a car. You're saying that this curriculum will be good for 6 years, and we'll start looking at something else.
We put all the curriculum on a 6-year cycle, or that's our intent to put it on a 6-year cycle, because there's other core areas that need adopted. So that way we can stay within a continuous, we're looking at data or looking at standards that change, and then looking and making sure that the curriculum still matches our standards.
Okay, so I'm looking at it wrong then. I mean, I was thinking that you have a way of looking at it today and knowing that it'll still be good.
It'll still be good in 6 years. Absolutely. We've also, as they update throughout those 6 years, sometimes we get those updates for free. I know that our,
Okay, that answers the rest of it then. Okay,
Yep.
so part of the price we're paying is addendums or updates or whatever.
a lot of what we're paying is the digital component with the student components, and then all of the extras that we're adding.
And the training and. whatever.
Yes, professional development.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, follow up.
Yes.
Do any of these companies do competitive bidding?
We work with them as much as we can. Our negotiator is Krista. If she's listening, thank you. She has negotiated our prices down considerably. But no, as far as competitive bidding with others, once they're chosen, I mean,
you can't get the same stuff from Smith Company or Jones.
no, no.
Because
That's
this
why
is
we
unique.
field tested all of these, because they're all different in what they offer.
I know what field testing means, but when from my vantage point, when you say field test, you take it to the first grade student and. work
We
with
had
them?
a first grade teacher teaching HMH, and we had a first grade teacher teaching curriculum associates. And then, we had more than that, but we had several in each building, field testing, and then they came together, and here's your pros and here's your cons, and here's what we need and here's what we don't, and here's what the data says.
Okay.
So that's what made this process extensive,
You may have
because we
said
have
that
that.
before, but.
No,
You
that's
refresh
fine.
my memory. Okay.
It's a new process, and it's been lengthy, but that's why we feel so confident in what we're proposing here. For math, it's only 612 because we adopted math a couple years ago at the elementary level. And they chose, again, HMH, the same platform that we're using at 6 through 8. And then at the high school, they chose McGraw-Hill, which was another vendor. And those were the only two that they piloted. The high school just really liked what McGraw-Hill had to offer for their students. And the middle school really liked what HMH had to offer. With HMH, we also purchased Waggle, which is like the MyPath for secondary. It's weird, all the different names.
I assume that most of these platforms are all CD-ROMs or computer-based, or
They're all digital licenses, so.
Getting any paperbacks or.
We will be getting consumables. So for the elementary level, they will have textbooks or consumable workbooks that they get for the 6 years. They'll ship them. So we're paying for this. We won't have to pay every single year. This is encompassed in the whole 6-year plan. So for the next 6 years, we will just get them shipped to us.
So our budget for this year for curriculum is pretty well wiped out if we approve these.
And then some. Yeah, the budget for curriculum, right now, we're out of subscription to what we currently have. Right now we have Wonders and we have collections for our ELA adoption, and we're out of subscription, which means we pay annually to continue to have digital resources and consumables for kids. And we will continue to pay annually until we adopt. And so we can't build that budget up until we have an adoption in place, and then we can start building.
I'm trying to make Steve squirm his last few days.
There's not much you can do to make Steve squirm, and Steve's given me a crash course in finance, and I feel pretty confident about it.
I made him squirm. So.
Well, I did, as for financial purposes, if you look at this paper, it wasn't included in the packet, but it's colorful and included right here. In the spirit of transparency, the blue is your ELA or your reading adoption. So you can see the total cost for everything for the 6 years for reading. The grand total is about $2,001,725. And then if you look over to math, that's your red. And again, it's only 612. So the grand total for that will be about $466,000. So the complete adoption total is close to $2.5 million. The majority of this is going to be paid through ESSER funds. And so Steve and I sat down, we went through how much ESSER funds we have. And if you look here, we can't afford it. If we were to pay for it all right now, we wouldn't be able to afford it. So HMH, which is our largest vendor, not only knocked 20% down, again, Krista negotiated that for us, 20% off the top, but they've also agreed for a payment plan, which is at least 50% down this first year. And then in year 2 and year 3, we would pay 25% and 25%. So the way that would work with the 50% down is this yellow down here where it says payment plan with HMH option. It has the total price of the adoption, which is that 2.5 rounded up. And then it tells you what account everything's coming out of and how much is coming out. So the first thing is the HMH plan. So we're subtracting 50,000 off of that. And then if you look, it says Title I and Title IIA for professional development, which means I'm taking all the professional development and we won't be using ESSER funds for that or curricular line items. I can make that work out of Title I and Title IIA, those federal funds. So I'm taking the professional development out to make the price go down a little bit. And then from here on out, you see what line items I'm taking. So at the very, very bottom in green, you see what's left over. Okay, so that means if we use this HMH plan, this is how much we have left over in curriculum funds that we can either put on it to get less in year 2 and year 3 so we can build those funds up, or we can just carry it over just to make sure that we're safe.
I have to be facetious here. I see the word free, but yet you're charging $40,000.
That's the description in the line item. I'm telling you, Greg, I know finance. Let's go.
We've got 4 or 5 line items there that say free. And so maybe they need to change it, but anyway, go ahead, keep going.
Yes.
If we could back up a little bit, is there a reason when we get to 6th to 12th that Amira is no longer sponsored? Do we lose fluency at some point?
Well, fluency should actually be taken care of at the 2nd grade level. Students should be fluent readers going into 3rd grade. So we're purchasing it for 3rd through 5th just because we're trying to catch up from COVID. We have noted that our upper grade level kids think Amira is too babyish. So we did have it piloted at our tier 3 reading classes at the middle level, and they weren't getting a lot of kids that wanted to be on it or putting their time into it because it was too babyish, but they didn't feel that way about Waggle, which is more comprehension.
So would this be the curriculum we would have into our reading classes when we talk about some of our tiered reading?
They will be getting a piece of the tiered reading. Read 180 and System 44 will be going into our tiered classes, and those are geared more towards students that need additional support. And we have piloted Read 180 and System 44 with all of our special education teachers across the board, especially secondary. And they all think that this is exactly what they need, which is actually above and beyond what they have now, which is nothing.
Where does it, agreed, problematic, where does that come in?
It's all part of this.
Okay.
Yeah, this includes Read 180. It's
44. I saw
yeah,
that
the
it's Read
ELA
180,
is 56 pages, but I wanted to make sure that you knew everything that we were buying. So I included all of the quotes, and there is a quote in there that says Read 180 and Waggle. It's a separate quote, but it's all included in this 2.5.
How do we make ESSER funds work for this?
When we did the ESSER 3 application last year, it was about April, and Dr. Schutte was filling out the application. He asked me to send him some preliminary quotes. So when we narrowed down the vendors that we would be field testing, I emailed him. I said, congratulations, you're part of our pilot. Send me a quote as if I was going to buy everything. And I forwarded that to Dr. Schutte, and he put that in the ESSER 3 application to earmark funds so it could be approved for this purchase.
Okay. That it's been approved.
Yes, it's our,
So
the 2 lines that you see that say ESSER 3, those line items have been specifically approved for curriculum adoption. It says that in the application.
Right. Thanks.
Jen, in the quote, it says there's 158 grand. On one side, it says other. And then down in the quote, it says pre-purchase credit towards new core ELA program in development. What is that? Okay, it's on.
It's because ready reading is switching.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm glad you're here, Shanae. Curriculum Associates, where we're purchasing magnetic reading, they have what's called magnetic reading and they have ready reading, and it's switching and it's all becoming one.
Oh,
So
next
that's-
year.
That's what they're developing a new piece that will combine those.
And we will not have to pay an additional fund for that. They're going to give us that
So
updated
we don't
piece.
know the name of this thing, so that's what this is.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Oh, forgot about that one.
My other question is the 2 million and change that this costs. What does that compare to what we spent on the last package or spend yearly on licenses?
It depends on
About
what
6 years ago.
what we're purchasing right now. And I'm not gonna, you can't hold me on the exact numbers, but we were thinking around 3 million for this entire package, which is less. That's good. We're spending anywhere from possibly, and I'll get you the exact quote if you'd like. I can email that to you tomorrow to tell you how much we're spending on refurbishing licenses, but it's about 150 to 200,000 a year per content area.
per
And it-
content area?
yeah. But they're out of subscription. I mean, they're dated materials. The last time we adopted reading was 10 years ago. So we've had some standards changes then. And the last time we adopted math was the 16-17 school year. Well, secondary.
10 years ago, and I don't know if you'll know this, did we purchase a package for a set amount of time and then went yearly subscription?
We-
Or
We initially purchased the package for 6 years, but we've been out of subscription for
Right.
so long in all of our core that it's just been yearly, which is why we can't build up those curricular
Right.
funds because we're spending them every time we get them. I can speak to my history. The first curriculum adoption I did was in 2018 with social studies. This was before ESSER funds.
Mhm.
And this was when we did social studies and it was about a $900,000 package for 6 years for K-12 social studies.
Okay.
And
that's
so
just
it's
social
up
studies.
in 2024.
Okay.
So that's why we have to keep that revolving door going.
Do you know how much 10 years ago or so when we adopted an ELA pack, when we purchased an ELA package, do you know how much it was at that time?
I don't, but I can tell you 10 years ago, the digital resources weren't as robust as they are now.
Yeah.
And they didn't have all of these extra programs as we do now. So we bought Wonders, period, in ELA, and it was a tier 1. We didn't buy anything for our tiered classes. We didn't buy any extra resources like Amira or Waggle. It was, this is what you get. Here's your book. And we bought 5 anthologies or hardback copies per classroom. That was it. So not even every single student got a book.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jen, is there anything else? I know this is a big chunk. Is there anything else on the horizon we should be aware of that you guys are working on for readoption or changing curriculum?
I will say our non-core classes, which would be anything besides math, ELA, social studies and science. There hasn't been an adoption in a while for some of those. We have piecemealed some things together, so we're still up to date on some curriculum. Some classes are more needy than others. So that would be our next step. And again, we're trying to get everybody in subscription. So that's why we had to rush with the science and the math. So next year I can actually say besides non-core, all of our core groups will be in adoption. And I haven't said that since I've been here. So that's amazing. So non-core would be next. And then 2024 will be the first year out of adoption for social studies. And then 2027 will be when we need to look at science again and math. And I mean, if we like what we're doing and the standards haven't changed, it's an option to say, hey, can we just keep going with this? And that is something that we look at. We pulled Wonders again this year to see if we liked the new version, and it just was something they didn't want to go with. So, I mean, long-winded answer to your question, non-core still needs adopted. 2024 will be the next round with social studies. 2027 will be all science. And then we're going to try and push the math to meet this 7-year so that we have a K-12 math. So, and we might need to stagger some of these and pay in the next couple of years. So we're not adopting ELA and math during the same year because we can't sustain that with what we're pulling in.
I assume we get a discount for a multi-year adoption.
Oh, absolutely, we do. They discount professional development. I mean, 20% from our largest vendor was huge. I will tell you, when we first got the original numbers, we were at 2.7, 2.8. But again, it's K-12 reading and that's big. Plus we're getting all those extras. And then 6-12 math. Those are two huge content areas with a lot of additional pieces that we feel would be beneficial for our students. Hopefully, when I'm up here in 6 years with ELA, I'm not saying we need a Mira and we need Waggle because our kids are making progress and we're kind of back on track again. But this stuff is what we need to help our kids, fill those gaps. Yes.
Thinking way out of the box. Every school district does this, does what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Math changes and up. Can we form a finance co-op or something like that? And if by chance Mays, Newton and us want to buy the same material, can we get a bigger deduction? I don't know if you've ever talked about pooling those resources.
I don't think it would work that way just because
we're on different cycles. I understand.
and it doesn't flush out to us needing the same tools and same things.
But we're all buying from the same vendor.
Well, that's one thing we did when we collected the resources was who in the area teaches it. So we know who has HMH in the area. We know in our three vendors that we chose for field testing, we reached out to those areas that are teaching it to make connections with our teachers and what's going on so they could even look at how that's working now that they've adopted it. But I don't think we can, I don't think it would be a possibility.
The technical is the easy part. It's the cost of it and the scheduling that we all needed at the same time. I'm just trying to reach out. We could save another 500,000 or it's not going to be ESSER funds again. So I'm just trying to figure out a way that we could group buy, group purchase,
I appreciate that. And in a utopian world, I'm down for it, but I don't think that that's the case.
Got to find a way. That's your job, Steve, for your leave.
Okay, you best.
In about 2 weeks, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Just want to tell Jen, Shanae, and Krista, thank you for their work on this. They put a lot of time and effort into over the last year and a half. And I will tell you, when you look at the way curriculum previously was adopted, a lot of times they'd go in, set up all the stuff in a room. Teachers would go in, thinking about when I was a teacher. Oh, that's shiny and bright. Let's go look at that. And that's the one you chose. Unfortunately, that's the way it was done years ago. And the fact that Jen and her team have taken the time to get teachers involved, get their buy-in to the process and make sure this is what they feel like they can utilize best for our kids speaks volumes. And I just want to thank them for their leadership through this process.
It was really fun. It's a lot of work.
Thank you.
It's really.
Do you have any other questions?
I think I'm next too, so I'll just hang out.
Summer exploration and enrichment.
Yes, we started summer exploration and enrichment last year with K-5. It was held at Nelson Elementary School. Heather Brister was the administrator, and we saw some really good success with that. Teachers love teaching things that they wouldn't get to teach throughout the school year, so they made proposals. We provided the materials for them, and then we had students sign up, and it was kind of like a summer camp each week. So we did 4 weeks of it. Students can sign up for which weeks they would be here and what classes they'd like to take and some alternates. And then we put them in the schedule and they could attend. It ran the same time frame that our K-2 intervention and most of our summer programs run. So they would show up at 8 o'clock and eat breakfast. Class would start at 8:30. Classes would end at 11:30. And usually during summer exploration enrichment, they got to go to like 3 different sessions during that time. And then they could eat lunch before they left at noon. So we'd like to, we used ESSER funds for that, and we'd like to extend that to this year, continuing with K-5 summer exploration and enrichment. And we'd also like, with your permission, to see if we can grow that to cover 6th through 8th. This year, we plan to house it at HMS. It's a larger facility, so if it does grow, we can, and it is also a summer food source, so then they can be dropped off at HMS, eat their breakfast and go straight to class, and then vice versa. That way we can plan for it.
How much more expensive will it be to have it at HMS since it's a larger building and takes more energy to?
HMS will already be up and running because of Spark and other things that are going, so it will just, I don't know how that works. BJ, I don't know if you shut down part of it.
There won't be much of an increase in cost because we're going to run on our north end of the building and the south end of the building. Plus, we just have rooftop units. Now, if we go to the old section of the building, that's when the price will increase because we'd have to run the chiller
Okay.
So there'll really be no increase at all in cost.
Okay.
Especially since we're not using Nelson this year, so.
Sounds good.
Wouldn't be using it for summer program, but still would have, they did a lunch program there, didn't they, at Nelson?
They did do a lunch program at Nelson.
And that would still be continued this year.
The lunch program at Nelson, I don't know.
So Gina's looking at centralizing it at campus, Haysville Middle, that would be serving the families. And then we have a closed site at Haysville High School. So Gina, I'm not comfortable sharing, her exact plan, but she'll be
Sure.
here next month.
Okay.
So that'd be a question you could reach out to her at that point.
Okay.
So,
Any idea, have you heard any rumblings of what they're gonna offer this summer? I know that's
The
really-
proposals have been coming in.
Okay.
Heather has already sent stuff out for proposals. And so there's a lot of teachers that are excited about the possibility of 6th through 8th. I will note that we had a lot of secondary teachers that taught elementary last year and had a blast with it. So I'm wondering if some elementary teachers might want to teach some secondary kids. It just depends on their idea and where they want to go with it. But last year I have some numbers. As we also made it flexible for teachers. So if teachers didn't want to teach all 4 weeks, they could just come in and teach for a week. We made sure that they committed to at least 1 week. And we had week 3 was a short week because of Juneteenth. So that's our smallest amount. But in week 1, we had 15 classes and 118 students. In week 2, we had 16 classes with 118 students. In week 3, we had 11 classes with 98 students. And in week 4, we had 9 classes with 107 students. So we had a really good turnout. And when I say 15 classes, that was 15 different offerings, but the classes may have been, you could switch throughout the day. So there was like an hour for each class. So when I say there was 15 different offerings, it could have been offered 3 different times that day. So students could have the option to see 3 of those 15 for the week. So that's why they get to choose. But it was a really cool setup the way Heather did it.
Any other questions?
Will Heather be principal again this year?
Yes, she will.
Okay.
And she even said, since it's all going to be at Hazel Middle, she says, I'll be happy to help expand with the 6th through 8. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next is KASB Board Policy Section I.
So you have been given section I this month. Not going to share much about it other than it's instructional and it's long. And we'll share that. If you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to let me know. Jen is reviewing those obviously as well, taking a look at it. And the next 2 I will tell you are linked to instructional. And next month, we will introduce student section J, which is, we may have to take a couple of months to do it. It's quite lengthy. And that's your day-to-day stuff that impacts kids more than probably anything that we do. So I would point those 2 out to you. So that's all I have on that section, unless there has any questions.
Next is 2023-2024 district calendar. I believe there's 2 options. One that the district presented and one that teachers showed.
I'll share a little bit about this with you here real quick. Okay, so first thing I'd like to do is just talk briefly about the process. So we have what we call the District Professional Advisory Council. We meet monthly, starting typically in August, September. And this is a group made up of a staff member from each building. We meet on the Wednesday before the board meeting. And in that meeting, we review the board agenda with them, go through what the board's going to talk about that month. And this month, we're doing the same book study, the same book you're reading about Hello, My Name is Public School. So they're reading that and doing a book study of that. Then we also talk about different areas, bounce ideas off of them and so forth. So there's a staff member from each building. There's a building leader from each level. So we have an elementary representative, a middle school representative, and a high school representative that sits on that. Then Jeremy is your Board of Education member who sits on this committee. And then our advisory team, which consists of Jen, Jillian, Angie, myself, and Adia. And Steve, as his schedule allows. So that is who makes up the committee. We started this last year, and I think it's great for getting feedback from staff, getting input. Just on a sidebar, we're actually starting one of these with our classified staff this month. We had early in the fall, I asked for all of our administrators to send us names of people. We put together a list. So we were actually starting a classified version of this to get feedback from our classified staff as well. So that will start in the month of February, early March. So we meet monthly. It's used for gathering feedback from staff. It's a great tool to bounce ideas off of. They share concerns and so forth. So part of their task also is to help create a district calendar. And so we start in typically the month of December. We break this group into small groups, and then they begin gathering feedback from their colleagues, go out to the building, say, okay, give us feedback. We ask them to talk to your principals, get in front of them in a faculty meeting, send an email, whatever it takes to get feedback from your colleagues. And then they break those groups, each develop a calendar that they think meets the criteria for school year. We give them what you have to do, the number of hours you have to have, and so forth. And so go through that with them. And then they work over a couple of months to create calendars. And then last month, or I guess it was this month, wasn't it, Jen?
Yes.
Earlier this month. Yeah, they then do a consensus building activity where we put up this year, we put up 3 calendars, and they went through a consensus building activity and then identified the one calendar that they thought they would like to have presented to the staff for a vote. Then what we did last year, and we'll do this year, and we will continue, is we mirror this year's schedule, plug it into next year. So that's option 1, or their new option they come up with is option 2. Then what we do is we send that out to the staff, all staff, to vote on. So all 1,000 staff members get a chance to vote on this. We gave them about, what was it, did about a week, ballpark? Yeah, roughly a week to vote on. It's online. They were given 2 options. You have this on your desktop, obviously, but the left one is option 1. That is the calendar that mirrors this year's. And then on the right is option 2. This is a calendar that the committee came up with to bring to the board as they look at options. So voted 560 people responded. 66.4% chose option 2, 33% chose option 1 as their choice for next year. So that is how we then arrive at bringing to you option 2 as a first read for a calendar for next school year. Don't have to do anything with it tonight. Obviously, we'll come back next month and ask for approval. When we adopted our new policies, I think one of the board members, I remember it might have been Courtney, asked if we could move it back from April to March. So we'll have it ready to be approved and got to families before they go on spring break this year, if the board approves that on March 6th. So that is the process that we go through to create the calendar. We do get a lot of staff comments, feedback. They bring that back to PAC, and then PAC uses that to create the calendars. And there are a lot of different varieties. Obviously, I will tell you that when you look at it, there's not a lot of things you can really do when you look within the parameters. I put this in my board memo last week about the calendar and what's required. And I had a board member email today and asked specifically, does this meet those requirements? The state requires that you either follow a certain number of days or a certain number of hours a year. Haysville opted for hours. We are under the 1,116 hour minimum. That's what you have to have to meet the state requirements. If you don't have that, then it's not a complete school year. This calendar exceeds that. It's at 1,163 hours, if I remember correctly. Last year's, for comparison, was 1,159. So there's actually 3 more hours of student contact through this. Now, part of those 1,116 hours, parent-teacher conferences count for time you can use for student contact hours because you're talking with parents. Professional developments are a half day. So if you work a full day of professional development, you get 4 hours to your student day. So you understand that one. Then like teacher work days, students get no credit for those. Contractually, teachers are required to work 178 days per their contract. So this equates to about 165 days ballpark for students, give or take. Again, we're on hours, not days. So with teacher contracts, we are at 100, and I think today we had a question about this, and we're at 177 or 100, we're at 177.25 hours. So actually below the 178 that's required of teachers. We did get a question from HEA about this, and we sent our numbers to them, and they're going to provide us any thoughts that they have in regards to those numbers if they see something different than we do. But we've gone through it a dozen times, and it's the same answer every time. So that's just the process for a calendar. You'll probably, the biggest thing you'll notice this year is there's 2 weeks at Christmas. I will point out that as I did some research on this, there are districts already who have approved their calendar, and that's pretty consistent. Not all districts have approved their, Goddard had, Valley Center had, Andover has. Derby, I couldn't find theirs, and I couldn't find Maze's. Valley Center, Goddard both have almost the identical calendar as we do. Andover, I think, was within a couple of days at Christmas. Other than that, they're all pretty much the same.
Andover starts earlier and ends later than we do also.
And it could be contractually the
Yeah,
number
they
of
have
days
more
that-
contract days than
Yeah,
we do.
teachers have. As you'll remember from negotiations, we have this in the area, the fewest number of student contact days within the area. So
There is a bill
yes,
proposing what 190
190
days.
I sent it to you last week.
186 to 190 days, something like that.
Yes. And do away with the hours. It's
Right.
only strictly going to days and an 8-hour day. So there's no flexibility in that at all. It's
Right.
and that, I think that should be not to get on a soapbox, but I think that should be a local decision, not a state decision. So in my opinion, really doesn't matter. So but that's where we are with that. So I will tell you that both of these calendars meet the expectations of the state. They meet the contract that we're required to meet. So if you have questions, let me know. I don't know if anybody has any tonight. Not again asking you to approve, just a first read. Jeremy?
With that much of a vote by the staff, I mean, it would be hard not to approve option 2, I think. Sooner parents can plan for next year, the better. Not saying we should approve it tonight, but with that percentage voting for it, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a reason to wait unless unless board members want to look through it and see how they feel. I don't know.
I would add a couple of thoughts to that, Jeremy. One, I think if you're going to ask people for their opinion, you should follow that opinion unless it's, it's ethical or moral or legal. If the board sees a part of the calendar they don't like, my recommendation would be direct us next year as you look at the calendar. This is what a non-negotiable is for us. We can't have X, whatever X is. And then that gives the committee the parameters that they need to follow as they develop their calendars. And Jeremy said on that, and I don't know if you want to share anything, Jeremy, about your experience of the process of development of it.
Yeah, I had the same comments last year as I did this year. Last year, the proposal was for around Christmas was quite a few days as well. This year, it's 13 school days, not 13 calendar days, 13 school days. And, that's basically what all staff wanted. And as you can see, I mean, even the calendar mirroring this year was 13 school days off for Christmas as well. So, I mean, it's a tough spot. I know it's a lot of days out of the classroom. It's hard on parents, but the way the calendar worked out this year, both holidays falling on a Monday, it's kind of stuck where we are. There was some conversations about maybe lessening that next year if we're uncomfortable with that many days off. This year, not really able to do much about that. Other than that, the process is really good. I like working with everybody. It's great to be with teachers and principals and everything like that. I know from a board perspective, seeing 13 school days off is kind of a shock, but just how the calendar worked this year.
It's a good point, and I will tell you, and this is reality, it is a morale booster for staff to have that time off. I will tell you that is something positive for staff. And students as well, they like to have the break. So it is more on a parent. That is true, especially the younger the child. Obviously, as a middle school, high schooler, that's not the same issue as it is a kindergartner, first, second, third, fourth grader, where they don't have the option to stay home by themselves. So. But again, no action tonight. Just presenting to you what the results are. Doc.
Curious on the HEA thing that you sent over about, was it 3/4 of a day that were short? Is that correct? What are the options, or we would just waiting to see what they come up with?
Well, right now, as I understand it, the history of the calendar, it's always been that way, that it's short a few days. They pointed out, I believe, as I recall, that they thought we were actually at 179 days. Again, we have gone through it multiple times and it shows up at 177.25. And the way that works is, I think it's 175 days of them being in either in a classroom or in PD or something like that. Then at conferences, they work 9 hours in October and 9 hours in February. So that gives you a total of 18 hours. Take that, divide that out by an 8-hour day, which is what our student or our staff day is, which gives you 2.25 days. So it puts you at 177.25, as I recall. Legally, we can't be over, obviously, as we'd be in violation of the contract. If you're under, obviously, you're talking about 5 hours, ballpark, 5 hours.
If I remember right, there's also basically 4 snow days built into the calendar.
Anything in excess of 116 hours or 1,116 hours would be days that you could use for snow days. Anything short, if you schedule 1,116 days or hours and you have 2 snow days, you're making them up, whatever that means, whether that's adding time to the day to, adding 15 minutes to the day, whether that's, going an extra day, doing something in spring break, whatever the case may be, because that is state law. So
that brings up a question about the proposal in the legislature about 8-hour days. If that were to be adopted into policy, it goes by 8-hour days, not by hours. So if there weren't snow days built into a calendar or whatever, would we have to extend our year?
Without seeing the law the way it's written, I would be hesitant a little bit to share my thoughts on that. I want to see how the law rolls out. And my experience with this, usually they give you something like that. That's a pretty significant change for a lot of school districts. My thought would be they would probably give you a year to make adaptations, because a lot of districts have already approved their calendars.
Right.
You also then would have to go into negotiations and negotiate with teachers to add additional days. As I think I put in my memo, to add a day for us is about $265,000. So if you add a day to the contract, that's $265,000 more that we have to pay. So that's an estimate. Please don't hold me to that exactly, but that is an estimate of what it would cost us to add a day. So when you look at that, that's a significant amount of money it would cost to add those days.
With no additional funding from.
With
the
no
state.
additional funding is
Right.
what, last week we have a weekly webinar with KSD, and last week that was the question is in the proposed bill. And again, it's a proposed bill. It's not been passed.
Right.
It's proposed. At that point, they said that there was not any plan to provide additional funding. That can change either way, obviously, but at the early stages, that's what it appeared to be, was no additional funding. So do the math on that, you look at it, it's, at that point, if you have to add those number of days, you're talking multi-millions, and we don't have multi-millions to do that. So.
The word I was looking for in the process is collaborative. It just came to me.
Oh, okay.
I was struggling to find the right word. It's very collaborative. It's a really good process. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy getting to work with staff that, oftentimes you don't get to see a lot of.
And they're leaders. They're your leaders in your building.
And I may have sounded a little down about time off, but I was just voicing the conversations we had in the process.
Yes.
I support the calendar. I think it's great. I just, that's the first thing I see when I look at it is 13 school days off. Looks like a lot, but again, morale booster, and the days are there, the hours are there, students are in the seats, the appropriate amount of time. So.
Greg, you had a question?
Comment, complaint.
Okay.
One that I've had for many years is that traditionally it's a 5-day work week. I see sprinkled through calendars, have for years, too many 4-day weeks. Whether they're off for teaching or a holiday or whatever. And based on my experience, that they miss that 5th day and they have to make that time up or relearn, retrain on Monday. So I just have a problem with so many 4-day weeks for whatever reason. And I would like to see more time off. We talked about it. It's Christmas time. I like to see more time off for teachers who generally use that to recharge and also to go back and get their master's degrees or recertification. So I'm, starting August 15th and going to May 15th, I would like to see that compressed or changed 1 to 2 weeks to see more time off, less 4-day weeks. That's the only way I can summarize it. Some are necessary, some are because of holidays, or whatever.
Sure.
But I just see too many reasons, too many days off here. That's been my complaint for years. Right, Debbie?
Maybe.
I don't know what we can do to change it, but it's just not the calendar I like to see.
Understand. Any other questions? Well, if you do, don't hesitate to shoot me an email, give me a call, and then again, we'll bring it back next month and ask for it to be approved. Okay, any questions? All right, thank you.
Future agenda items?
We'll have the Haysville West Middle School will be the flag salute. There will be first read on handbooks, the action on the district calendar, capital outlay will have first read. There will be a report on the free breakfast program and a first read on the temporary summer help. Campus EMT curriculum proposal. The high school, Haysville High School alternative scheduling will come to you as an action item. Then in April, we'll have the action on the handbooks, proclamation for teacher appreciation. And I will let you, I'll give you the graduation and promotion, grade promotions dates in April.
Okay. And board calendar?
There's no changes on that. That's just the board calendar, Jeremy, is the items that come to you monthly.
Okay. Okay, and I guess we're adjourned. Tom better be back next month.
He's on a cruise ship right
Yeah.
now, so.
Why don't you call him and tell him?
That one's over.
No. Promoted.
Got it now.